The Dallas Mavericks are going through a rough patch in this regular season. They started out 16-8. Luka Doncic was starting to pick it up. He started slow with his shooting splits, but you saw Luka start to form into that top five player that we all know. But what happened? He strained his calf during the Christmas game against the Timberwolves, and they ruled him out for a month, and he's supposed to be reevaluated soon. So hopefully Luka will be back. On top of that, Derek Lively, there's news announced yesterday that he's going to be out for 2 to 3 months. And the Mavericks are now sitting at 23-21. They're 7-13 in the last 20 games, and things aren't looking too well in Dallas. Now, I'm here to tell you, I'm not giving up on them. And the reason I'm not, because last year they were 24-20 around this time in January before the trade deadline. But now you have Gafford there. Klay Thompson, I know he's not shooting well from the field, but he's still at 38% from three. You still got Kyrie Irving. You still got depth on this team. I think Dallas eventually is going to go on that run, just like they did last year, and pick things up after the All-Star break. Now, they got a tough schedule coming up. They still have to go to Oklahoma City tonight. We'll see how that pans out for them. It's not going to be easy to go into OKC without Luka. Then you got Boston coming to your stadium on Saturday. I think they could pull that win out because right now the Celtics haven't been looking too well. Saw them against the Clippers last night. They struggled to close that game out. They had to go to overtime just to squeak out a win by 4 points. Wasn't a good look at all. They were turning the ball over, fumbling around. There's a play where they inbound to Jaylen Brown. He's getting doubled, and he throws it to Derrick Jones Jr. He gets an easy layup, and that's what sent the game to overtime. So I think Dallas could surprise them. I really do. And as a Celtics fan, I'm not liking what I'm seeing, and we'll see if Boston can really ramp things up. I know people are like, oh, well, they'll be fine, but it's been a month of this basketball, and I don't know how they're going to hopefully they do turn it around. But yeah, I think Dallas could end up beating them, and they got the Wizards right after that. I think it's important for them to go 2-2 during this stretch of games without Luka, assuming he doesn't come back sooner rather than later. Because they lost to Minnesota last night by 1 point, tough loss. I thought they could pull that out, but didn't happen. So it's important for Dallas just to stay in that seventh seed and right outside the ninth to 10th spot. Don't fall too far behind, because once Luka comes back, I think we're going to be seeing the best version of Luka Doncic. I think he's going to ramp it up. He's going to carry this team on his back. Kyrie's going to go for the ride, and I think Dallas is going to start to take off. Of course, a lot of this comes down to their health, but I trust the experience on this roster. Of course, Klay Thompson, 4-time champion. Kyrie Irving's won an NBA championship. Luka Doncic has been in the NBA Finals along with Kyrie, and of course, Klay's been there before. I trust the leadership and veteran presence on this roster. Now, it doesn't look good right now because they're not playing great basketball. They're struggling out there, but they're still fighting. So if they can find a way to squeak out a win against OKC, that would be incredible. I don't see it happening, but if they're able to pull that out, that would be huge for their season. Remember, they were 24-20 last year. Obviously, the circumstances are different because they got to deal with teams like the Rockets and the Grizzlies. But if the Mavericks go into the playoffs, ramping things up, playing good basketball, they get Derek Lively back, and they're playing Houston or Memphis in the first round, I like their chances to knock them out. If they go to play Denver in round one, I like their chances. So I don't want to panic on Dallas yet or say, their season's over, because Luka is still dealing with this injury. And I think if they just right the ship right now and just try to squeak out some wins before he comes back, and then they get to like 5 or 6 games over 500, then I believe after the All-Star break, they're going to ramp it up and they're going to turn this whole season around. I really believe that. As long as they stay healthy, because again, I trust Kyrie in these situations. I trust Luka. I think Klay will play better. We saw him shoot better from the three after the All-Star break, so I think he'll ramp it up. I think the break will help him out. And those guys can build chemistry with each other. Now, I do want to look at their upcoming schedule. Obviously, we talked about OKC. They are playing them tonight. They got Boston at home on Saturday. I think they could win that game because the inconsistencies with Boston's fourth quarter execution and just being able to not generate threes, but knock down the 3-point shots have not been going down as consistent lately. You got the Wizards. That should be a win. You got to go New Orleans. That won't be an easy game because they're healthier, they're more motivated, but I think they can get that done. Detroit won't be easy because we know Cade is looking like an all-star player, and Detroit is a different basketball team. Then you got to go to Cleveland and Philly and Boston. So looking at the road trip, I think they just got to go 500. They got to aim for that. So you got to beat the Pelicans. I think that's important. If you can beat Detroit, that'd be big. I think they can handle Philly. So 3-2 or 2-3, it's not terrible. Then you got Houston at home. I think Houston, Sacramento, Golden State, their homestand right here. If they can get Luka back by next week, let's say he is back for their road trip or in the middle of the road trip, they're able to just pull out some wins, even against like Cleveland. I know, again, that won't be easy, but we'll see if they have any health concerns going. I know Evan Mobley's been out as of late. or maybe they can just surprise them. I think Dallas will. Let's see. I think they can beat Boston. I really do, and Washington. So that puts them at 25-22. I think they beat the Pelicans. Detroit would be tough, but I think they can squeak that out as well. So that puts them at 27 wins. They lose to Cleveland. They beat Philly. They lose to Boston in their building. Then they beat Houston and Sacramento. Then you beat Golden State, and then you beat Miami. Now all of a sudden you're 32-24, and that's what 9 wins in the past 12 games. So I think they need to have a nice little stretch where they get some wins under their belt. They can't free fall. Like they can't afford to lose a lot of these games coming up because they got to survive. And it's not easy, I know, because you're in the Western Conference. But if they can just be in that 6th or 7th seed going into the All-Star break and be about 6 or 7 games over 500, they're going to be in good shape because after the All-Star break, as you can see, they got the Pelicans again, the Warriors, the Lakers, the Hornets, Bucks, the Kings. Some of these are very winnable games. And, you have your team back and you're trying to get lively, ramped up. And you got to, expect maybe some fall offs from teams. Like maybe the Rockets will go through a struggle. They're a young basketball team. The Grizzlies might go through a struggle. The Western Conference standing is always changing. And I think for Dallas, they should aim for that 4th spot or 5th spot, maybe the 2nd seed. That might be a little bit ambitious at this point, but you just don't know. We saw the Celtics 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago, they were 18-21. I think they were at the play-in spot. Then they got to the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to write them off right now. I still believe in this basketball team. I had them 2nd in the Western Conference, and it was looking pretty good because the way they started and the way they were playing basketball, but then the injuries happened and piled on. So they just got to get healthy. They need Luka back. That's the biggest thing. He's got to be healthy down the stretch. And I think we're going to be seeing top 5 Luka Doncic for the rest of the season and get the Mavericks back on track. Will it be easy? No, but again, you want to be playing your best basketball come playoff time. We saw Dallas last year. Again, start slow, 24-20. I know the roster was different. Clay wasn't there. Gafford wasn't there yet. PJ Washington wasn't there. Lively was playing somewhat at the time, but I know he had another injury that they had to overcome before the playoffs started. So Dallas has been in this situation before. It's not new to them. They know what they're doing here. So as long as they can ride the ship a little bit, make sure they stay above 500, get some tough wins. Maybe you can squeak out a win in Boston or get a win out in Cleveland. Again, Boston at home has not been that good this year. Or maybe you win tonight against OKC. That would be a huge win for the Dallas Mavericks. But we'll see how this all turns out. I'm not giving up on them. I think there's a lot of basketball left for the Dallas Mavericks. I still think they can make a deep playoff run. So we'll just see how it plays out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the play of the Dallas Mavericks. Are you panicking as Mavericks fans? Are you just riding the wave for now, waiting for Luka to get back? Love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one.